So, hello everybody. Glad to see you tonight, and we have a special guest today. And my role is to introduce our guest that will be for the whole evening today with you, opening the webinar. My name is Igor Dukov, and I am a Stockholm School of Economics area principal. And just the story that underlays our relationship with Schoola is the following. Somebody maybe knows that we have here at SSE Russia the corporate program for the Russian railways. And 5 years ago, we invited Olle Lundström, who was at that time the CEO of SSE Service Academy. SJ stands for Swedish Railways, to give a guest lecture in front of top managers of Russian railways. He was very good accepted, and we invited him the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, and now we would like to take the opportunity to introduce Olle to you who are in the classroom and to you who are on online with us. It's quite a big crowd online today, and quite a few people here in the class. So we would like to get this opportunity to share your ideas with Olle and to give Olle opportunity to share his ideas with you. So Olle, the floor is yours. Please communicate with the audience. Please communicate with the people online. Everybody is waiting for your speech, and we start our webinar today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Igor. Hello, everybody. Hello. Привет. And hello, everybody out there on the internet as well. I told everybody in Sweden that I was going to Russia, and they said, "Oh, you're lucky, you go to Sochi." And I said, "Yeah, well, I'm lucky, but I'm going to St. Petersburg." But I hope within the next 2 weeks, I would love to be in Sochi, because then the hockey final will be, and the hockey final will probably be between Russia and Sweden. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. And probably Sweden will win the gold medal.
We'll see.
We'll see. I will sit and I will try to stand, and you here in the audience in St. Petersburg, you're very welcome to interact with me and to ask me questions directly, because I think this will be a more live performance if you ask me questions directly. And I will transform your questions into the web camera as well, and I will see the questions here on the screen, and I will tell you the questions too. So I need a new picture now. So today we're going to talk about innovative way to client relations. And I hope you're curious about the subject, because I love innovation and I love client relations, because I think client relations is really what everything is about in the future. And just before I went here, I was watching the news on television. It was the Fox News from America to the US, and they launched the new CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella. Have you heard about him? Yeah. It's been on the news for a couple of days, but it was an interview with him, and it was a lot of analyzed people that discussed what his next step would be. And the funny thing is, he said we have to make Microsoft much more client-oriented, and we also have to make Microsoft a little bit more funny, because we lost the spirit. We are all into product, we're all into pricing and processes, but we forgot about the funky business, the fun business. And that is a little bit what I'm going to talk to, and I think it was like a sign at Microsoft talk about more client-orienting and more funky business. See that here? I can do it with this one. So, my name is Olle Lundström. I live in Stockholm, Sweden. Before we start actually the presentation, I'll give a little bit of my story so you know who I am and share my story with you. Does that work? Oh, sorry. No technical problem here now. There we are. So, what I do today I run my own business. It's called Great Wide Open. And I work with innovation and creativity and efficiency to create results for our customers. We think creativity is probably one of the most important things because creativity brings innovation. And also, after working for the big state railway, we know what efficiency means because there's always these long processes and this long timing. And in order to do things, now we have to be very efficient. And I provide consulting services in business development, in strategy, project management, idea, concept. I mean, mostly everything I learned over the last 25 years, I now try to sell. And it's been pretty successful. So what I've been doing for the last 25 years, just a short summary. I started at Sport Resort, a big travel agency. We have part of the TUI group, one of the world's biggest travel agencies. I was the marketing director, and we have about 150 to 200,000 travelers from Sweden going to the Alps. And we were very much into event marketing and direct marketing. We didn't do very many advertising campaigns. We were much into more meeting up with the audience and with our clients. From that on, I moved on to Eventum. It's a sports marketing and event marketing company. Eventum managed and owned the rights for very big sports events, not like the Olympics, but on a national base, like Stockholm Open, the biggest tennis tournament. It could be Swedish Rally, the biggest rally tournament, big bike races. And we made money on commercial rights on those sports. It was also a lot of entertainment in Eventum. Then we started a company called Attention. We work only with marketing and brand values according to live. What is the live performance of a company? We work with the Swedish Defense. We work with big newspapers and international companies. Then I was the marketing director for a commercial school called Berg School of Communication, which is one of Sweden's biggest communication and business schools, besides Stockholm School of Economics, of course. Then I was sales director and creative director for Live Nation in Sweden and part of Scandinavia. And Live Nation is the world's biggest entertainment company. Live Nation make big tours with Madonna, with the Rolling Stones. Live Nation has offices in like 40, 50 countries. And the head office in Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles. And we also made the Eurovision Song Contest, which is very, very big in Sweden. I don't know if it's very big in Russia, but in Sweden it's huge. It's almost bigger than when the Rolling Stones comes. Swedes are a little bit crazy. After that, I got this phone call from a headhunter said, "You want to start to work with SJ, State Railway?" And I told him, "You must have called the wrong guy. Because if you Google Olle Lundström, there are two Olle Lundström. One worked with train crashes, and I worked with Rolling Stones tours." And I said, "You must be calling the wrong guy. I have the job of my life, the dream job. I'm working with entertainment, with business. We had a head office in Rodeo Drive in Las Vegas, in Los Angeles. And you asked me to start to work with the railway industry." And I said, "No, Olle, we want to work with you." and I wondered, what could I add to the railway industry? And I will tell you a little bit about what we did with the railway industry and what our goals was. But I worked there for 5 years, and I recently quit and started this company called Great Wide Open, which is my own company. Besides that, I have a passion for bike racing. And in the year 1990, we invented the world's biggest bike race for women. It's called the Tjejtrappen, Girls Bike Race. And it was in the Guinness Book of Records. We had 10,000 women on the starting line with a world champion and Olympic champion in the front, and my grandmother at the end. And in May 1989, I said, I want to create the world's biggest bike race, and I want to have them all on the starting line at the same time, downtown Stockholm, and broadcast in all Europe. And everybody told me I was crazy. 12 months later, there was 10,000 women on the starting line. We had the World Championships and the Olympic champion and my grandmother at the end, and we all started at the same time. And we made a lot of money out of that. And we thought that bike racing was at a tipping point at that time. But actually we were not. We were 20 years too fast. Now bike racing, at least in Sweden or in Europe, is really at a tipping point. Is it a lot of interest about biking here in St. Petersburg in Russia?
Especially in winter.
Especially in winter.
Especially for women.
Especially for women. No, but biking has a lot to think about commuting, about environmental, about traffic, and also about health. So biking is very, very big right now in Sweden. And 20 years later, I said, let's start a new bike race again. And after doing 15 of these bike races outdoor, every year there was a catastrophe. It was either rain, or it was hailing, or it was windy, and it was just a mess. And the next year it was sunny. So this year we said, let's do the biggest bike race and start indoor. And there's this huge indoor arena called the Friends Arena. So we're actually bringing in the bike racing indoor. So the start and the finish line will be indoor, and then there'll be a big bike race outdoor. And we have sister races in New York, in Rome, and in a lot of other countries. It's called Grand Fondo Stockholm. And I'm now happy here to tell you all in the webinar and here in the audience that you are all invited to come and go for the race. It's 60 kilometers, and Igor here is going to do the race. He's going to do the 60-kilometer race. And if you want to, there's a 150-kilometer race as well, if you want to go really fast. You have to pay your flight tickets yourself, but I will make sure you will get your starting numbers so you can do the race. Just sign up afterwards. And a little bit about me. I love skiing. I love snow. I love any kind of skiing. I haven't skied the Urals yet, but that's a goal. I love water. I like surfing. I like dinners and friends. And I love entertainment. And I love going to rock concert. And I love that nerve. And I think there's a lot we can learn from the entertainment industry, which I've been into, what we can add into other businesses. And I will talk a little bit about that later on. And I'm inspired by Tom Petty and the song Great Wide Open, because I think we all have to be very open-minded. And actually the future is great wide open. It's all about what we do with it. The future is bright. And as Igor said, previously I was the CEO of SSE Service Academy. It was a former subsidiary of SJ, the Swedish Railway. We were one of the top 5 education companies in Sweden, with a turnover with about 10 million euros and about 20 to 25,000 students per year. And SJ was one of the customers, of course, the most important customer, but we had about 200 clients from everything from airlines, hotels, to banks. We also had educations out in other countries in Europe. 5 years with SSE on the MBA program, and also on education and safety and security culture and brands and sales, and we try to launch a program with MTO, which is about people, technology, and organization. So that's actually the reason for me being here from the beginning. So the thing is that SJ, the Swedish Railway, they started this subsidiary because they were facing big challenges. There was new competition coming in. There were huge cultural problems within SJ. Pretty much the same challenges that the Russian Railway, RZD, is facing. And they were also facing new customer needs. And they were thinking, what should we do? And they looked into the airline industry, which had done this journey long before, and they said, let's start a service education company, culture education company, called SJ Service Academy. So they gave me a key to an empty office, and 4 years later we had 25,000 students. It wasn't just because of me, it was mostly because of my fantastic staff. But I think we made a fantastic journey, and we learned a lot from that journey. In Sweden, the railway industry were facing a full-fledged deregulation on the railway market. It's been a state-owned railway for 150 years, and then all of a sudden it was supposed to be deregulated. And everybody was waiting for the Germans to come in, the Norwegians to come in, the Finnish railways to come in, and nothing happened. It was just quiet, and it went on very slowly. But the CEO of SJ, he knew that there should be competition. There were other companies that were coming in. And the biggest railway is between Stockholm and Gothenburg. It's like going from St. Petersburg to Moscow. It's where you make most of the money. And it takes 3 hours. You can't make it faster, you can't make it slower. And if a competitor comes in, what should be the difference between SJ and the competitor? It takes 3 hours, can't go faster. You have the same trains, probably about the same booking system. So SJ said, it's probably all about the people working on the train. Because if you have one red train and a blue train, which will you choose? Probably the train with the best staff, with the best feeling, with the most service. So they said we have to make a culture change in SJ. We have to really put a lot of effort into this. So therefore they started this whole subsidiary. And now 5 years later, actually they are facing the truth. Now the Hong Kong-based railway company, MTR, is opening high-speed trains from Stockholm to Gothenburg. And it's going to be on the same pricing almost. It's going to be the same time, 3 hours, about the same product. So now it's up to proof if it had made any change. And Igor just told me, would it be possible for RZD, the Russian railway, to operate in Sweden? And I said, yeah, why not? It's a pretty interesting question. Having a Russian railway operating on the Swedish ground, of course with Swedish trains. And also, SJ were facing new markets because these are high-speed corridors you see here on the PowerPoint. From Sweden, that's going to be high-speed corridor all the way down to Sicily. And it's going to be totally new, different needs when you come to customers. And it's a totally new market. This is going to take another 10 years until it's fully developed because there's no high-speed corridors yet. But this is where the train industry is aiming. And I was asking RZD, maybe why shouldn't RZD connect to this wide corridor and be part of the European Railway? And also, SJ were facing totally new customer needs. Before it was just like cattle, like cows putting people on the trains, go from A to B. But now customers have totally no needs. They want to commute, green commuting. They want to bring bikes. There should be heart starters, lifesavers, good service. So all these things made SG think about a new strategic way and also to start this subsidiary. And I wonder what happens when this guy enters the Swedish railway arena. Do you know who it is?
Sure.
It's Richard Branson. Do you know that Richard Branson is running trains in England, in UK? Have you flown his plane, Virgin Express? And now he has trains. You can go by Virgin Blue in England with entertainment and with a whole different attitude. And when Mr. Richard Branson enters the Swedish arena, it's going to be a big, big difference with everybody. I don't know if it's going to happen, but then you have to be really different in your service and in your attitude. So that was a little introduction. Today we'll talk about how can great service and total customer focus be a success factor? And can that possibly lead to new business objectives? Tattoos. And how can you create a winning service company? We'll talk a little bit about culture and tribes and what we can learn from the entertainment industry. Okay? I will show you a film here, and I want you all to write down on the paper what you think, what are the similarities to your business, what can you learn from this film that will help you out in the future. Try to write down 3 things that you think you can learn from this movie that can help you out to be more successful in the future. Please. Maybe you out there on the internet, if you can come up with something you can learn from this, you can write it down and send me that on the web. And I thought you are here in the audience. What about you?
I think there is a lot of energy.
Energy, that's right.
That's what I like. I feel this energy. It comes from stage, right?
He feels a lot of energy, and that's what he wants to bring in his business. Anything else? What about you? Here in the front. Yeah? What can you learn from this and bring into your business?
I see a lot of
give to the audience. That's like all good answers, but I'm thinking about another thing actually. What is Mick Jagger doing? What is the key success factor for Mick Jagger?
No, everybody knows his face for many years. It's very important. It's a brand.
It's a brand. It's a brand identity. That's right. And another thing.
Probably he can sing a little bit.
Of course he can sing a little bit. But the thing is, he has a total customer focus. 100% customer focus. Because when you're on that stage, you must have 100% customer focus. Can you imagine these guys, they have been on tour for 35 years. And when they asked Mick Jagger, when he, in the magazine, in an interview, what he wanted, what he was missing, you know what the answer? More tours. I want to be with my audience. And I worked with Mamma Mia a little bit in Sweden, with commercial rights for Mamma Mia. You're familiar with the musical Mamma Mia. And there's a Swedish woman called Gunilla Backman. She was the main actor of Mamma Mia. And she said that I'm doing this performance for about 400 times. And of course, I'm a little bit tired sometimes. You know, I can have a bad stomach, or my children at home could be having a bad day. But for example, at 5 o'clock, she goes to her car and she drives to the theater. At the same time, there's these clients, the audience that bought these expensive tickets. They go for a glass of champagne together. They probably book a hotel and have a nice dinner, and they spend a lot of money to go to this show. And Gunilla is sitting in the car, very tired. You know, has a bad foot and bad teeth and bad stomach, and she don't want to sing. And at 6 o'clock, she's in the cosmetic room, you know, having a hair fix. And at that time, the guests are having another glass of champagne and getting ready to go to their seats. And at 6:30, Gunilla entered the stage. And everything is gone. She's just happy. Because she has to deliver every day. Total customer focus. And that's probably the most important thing. Bring the happiness and a total customer focus. Every day, year out, year out. And you can't have a bad day. Can you imagine Mick Jagger saying, I'm having a bad day today. Sorry, I won't sing you extra numbers. It's not going to happen. Next slide, please. So every morning, our audience, the customers, they wait showtime actually. This means we must be ready to deliver. In the future, this means both the expected and the unexpected. We will be on the center stage every day. We are actually a little bit of artists. And there's one big international company that invented this for 30 years ago. It's Walt Disney. They don't call their staff employees. They call their staff artists. So if you could bring in a little bit of this in your business, you will probably have a much better customer focus. We waited 30 minutes, no service. Have you seen this before? Every day. Every day. Is it supposed to be like that? No, of course not. Of course not. You're supposed to get great service because you are the guest. You're supposed to have great service every day. And let's get to see if we have some questions here. Yeah, stay as long as you can with your business. Yeah, sorry about it. I missed you guys a little bit when we talked about that. But you had about the same answers as the audience here. I will keep an eye on your questions on your answers next time. So sorry about that. My fault. No customer focus. Yes, next slide. So, why do customers leave a company? It's pretty interesting. If you have a company and sales goes down like this, what happens? Well, normally the sales director says, it's too expensive. We have to lower the price. Right? Have you heard that before? We don't sell any products. It's too expensive. Of course. But then the marketing guy says, no, it's too little marketing. We have to do more marketing, right? But then the production guy says, no, it's a lousy product. We have to invest more in the product. And we'll maybe do more products and better products. But the interesting thing, all these three things cost a lot of money. Lower the price costs a lot of money. Promotion marketing costs a lot of money. And product development, quality, costs a lot of money. But when you ask the customers, this is both B2B and B2C, because this is an investigation that's done in Sweden. Almost 70% of the customers say they leave a company because of the reception, because of they don't like the behavior. That's pretty interesting. They can cope. I don't care if it's expensive. I don't care if it's bad marketing and bad promotion. I can cope with the lousy quality as long as it's good behavior and good service. So what should you do? Of course, invest more in better behavior, a better culture, a better attitude, a little bit more rock and roll. This is the truth. This is the figures that are official. Almost 70% of the customers leave a company because of bad behavior. Isn't that pretty interesting? What do you think? Please, next picture. It is like this in Sweden. This is a 3.5-year-old article from one of the biggest business magazines. They said that the greatest threat to our brands is our own attitudes. They made a ranking of watchwords, and customer cooperation ranks as number 54. It should be ranked number 1, I think. What is it at your companies? If you would do a ranking of keywords, would you have customer cooperation as number 1 or 54? What do you think? But it's pretty interesting. This is for all the big companies in Sweden. They rank customer cooperation as number 54. They forget the customers. And there was a guy that didn't do it that way. His name was Henry Ford. He invented the Ford cars. And he said, a business absolutely devoted to service will have only one worry about profits. They will be embarrassingly large. Is it like that in the car industry today? I will show you a story. 2 years ago, I was going to buy a new car. I had actually 150,000 euros. No, 50. No. Yeah. I was thinking about that. No, I had 40,000 euros. Normal car. More normal car. I had 40,000 euros in my pocket here. And I went in to the big Saab dealer in Stockholm. Do you know what happened? Look at me. I walk into Saab now. All the sales personnel, it had the glass doors like this. Started to type on the machines like this. I open my jacket like this. I said, I want to buy a car. They started to drive even faster. Then I started to scream, I want to buy a car! And then it started to hide their heads like this. They took my money like this. I threw money away. I want to buy a car. I couldn't buy a car. There was no one coming to me. Then I went home. I did the same at Volvo. No, I couldn't buy a car. Then I called Citroën, the French car dealer. Citroën? Hello, my name is Mr. Lundström. I would like to buy a car. Do you know what the girl answered? Sorry, you come to the wrong place. What? I said, okay. Well, she actually meant what we call the head office, and I'm the reception. You shouldn't call me. You should call the car dealer. But I actually looked at the internet, and the number, I called Citroën, I want to buy a car. And that's a normal question, I think. And she answered, you come to the wrong place. So it sounds not very easy to buy a car. But if you're absolutely devoted to service, you will have absolutely no worries about profits. Next picture. So there are two ways of doing this. The normal way, if you look at the blue box at the top first, forget the bottom one because it's supposed to pop up when I speak, but it's not like that here. So look at the top blue box. There's a Swedish clothing company called JC, R&B Group, a big clothing company, big clothes stores all over the country. And they have different brands. They spent 10 million euros in marketing on all the brands. And for that amount of money, they had 1 million customers that came to the stores. 1 million customers. And 10% of those 1 million actually were customers. So 100,000 people were customers. That was equals the profit, right? So then the CEO said, we want to double the profit. Then the marketing guy said, okay, let's spend 20 million euros in marketing. That means we will probably have 2 million customers into the stores, right? Makes sense? And we should double the profit. But the CEO is a very smart guy. He said, let's do it the other way around. I will lower your marketing budget. You will only get 8 million euros in marketing. But I want you to do sharper and better marketing. So I still want you to get 1 million customers to go into the stores. But I don't understand, if we have 1 million customers coming to the stores, how can you let so many people out? 90% walks out of the store without buying. So let's put 2 million euros instead in education, in behavior, so we can keep the customers and sell to them. And we will double the profit for the same amount of money. Make sense? And he actually had the guts to implement this and do it. And do you think it worked? It did. It actually worked. They got a better profit for the same amount of money, and they educated all the employees. And the project was called, I think, Service at Heart and Business at Heart. So they had a lot of e-learning, a lot of education. But still with a reasonable budget, I think it's about 2 million euros. And it was very successful. The guy is called Mikael Solberg. He is very active in business and a very smart and good guy. You can look it up on the internet as well. Please. So service is actually very, very simple. The dictionary says service means to serve. And when I'm with my staff at the Service Academy, we found over 200 synonyms for service. And if you make clusters of them, the most clusters, the most words about service is about seeing people, being genuine, and about receiving someone well. But you have to do it the right way. If you just say to people or to your employees, go out and do good service, it's not going to work. Because if you want to make a service culture, make this work, you have to be very goal-oriented. Because you said we want to be a service company. And you have to be very strategic. It's not just a saying. This is something you have to live from top to bottom. And you have to be very tactical in your execution as well. And you have to be keen to convey the right attitude. And when you come to the last part, actually the meeting between the people. That's actually the easy part. The most difficult part is to make a decision that the company puts in the strategy that service is important. Because if you're not the service person, if the CEO and the members of the board and if the leaders are not into this, it is not going to work. You can't tell the people on the floor to be nice in the service because they will do as you do. So it all starts with you, with the leaders. But then there are some pretty easy ways to do service. And I say the easiest way is to put the happy button. And people just laugh at that, but the happy button actually exists. It sits right here. It's the third button from top. 1, 2, 3. Because if you stand like this, it says, "Hi, my name is Olle. I'm going to have a speech to you. I'm going to give you good service." That wasn't very nice, right? But if you instead push the third button here, that's called the happy button. Look at this now. You want to come here and push my button? Please. Do you want to push my happy button, Gregory? It's easy. If you push here, it works. But you have to teach the people that it's easy to push the happy button. That was actually founded by a guy at the theater. The guy here called Lasse Kühner. Before people were going into the big performances, you know, they had practiced and practiced and practiced for months at the big theater. And they were actually entering the stage on the big musical. And they were so much into delivering to the audience, so they forgot about this showtime. So he walked to everyone in the crew and pushed the happy button here and said, "Showtime, push the happy button." And they started to deliver showtime. So we started to do that in our company as well. We started to push the button. We taught them about the happy button, and it actually works. But in order to do this, in order to make it work, you have to make it as a strategic thinking, goal-oriented, that we are going to be a service company. Then when it comes to the execution, hey, give your employees the tools to push the happy button. And service must run through the veins of the entire company. It can't, as I said, just being a saying, something you do in the front line. It has to come from the leaders. It has to come from your vision that you really have a customer focus. If you believe in that, you can give true and real service. And your employees, your staff will believe you. And you will be a service-oriented company that customers will love and embrace. And it's very important that it runs through the veins of the whole company. We'll talk a little bit about the target groups as well. But before that, I'm just going to see if there's someone writing something here on the internet. Since they want Metallica instead of Mick Jagger, but I have another video for you at the end, but it's not going to be Metallica, but I promise you another video at the end of the presentation. Anyway, it's very important that you share the same values at the company. We're going to talk a little bit about company culture. Company cultures come from core values. And if you have the same values, you will be loyal. You will have faith in the same passion, like Indians, like any tribe. And it's the same actually with your target group. Please. Because the target group, they really want to be loyal with you. And loyalty comes from you being loyal with your employees. And if you could be loyal with your employees and make good culture, you can also be loyal with your customers because they can feel that this is the truth. This is a metaphor for a tribe because the people you want to have with you together on the campfire are your true friends. And you should think about your customers as your true friends and the people that really want to share your values and be with you around your campfire. And if you do this the right way, you can get really loyal customers. You know the car factory company called Scania. There are actually companies or customers that make tattoos out of Scania on the bodies. They are so loyal to this car company, so they make tattoos out of Scania. You laugh a little bit here when we talk about the car, but if you take the next picture, if you, for example, look at Apple, you find it more natural. People are so loyal to Apple, so they make tattoos of Apple.
Can you advise to Russian Railway?
I will tell you a story. I made a speech in Berlin 2 years ago for a big train manufacturer, an airline manufacturer called Bombardier. You know Bombardier? And I told them about this, about being customer-oriented, about tribes, and about getting loyal customers. And if they do it right, they should have customers to tattoo Bombardier on the butts. This was 90 directors from Bombardier worldwide, top managers of Bombardier, and they were laughing a little bit at me. But I understood that they thought it was right, but they thought, this is going to be fun, it's never going to happen. People want to have Mick Jagger or Apple, but they're never going to have Bombardier on their butts. Why not? Because if you look at back. If you look at, for example, Apple is a telecom company. I grew up in the suburb of Stockholm with the Swedish telecom company Ericsson and Telia were the biggest players in the late 60s, early 70s when I grew up. And the most boring companies I ever could think of was Telia and Ericsson. It was like boring, state-owned boring companies. And 25 years later, they are in the telecom, and telecom is really hot. And now people would tattoo Apple on their arms or on their butts. Anyway, I met the CEO of Bombardier half a year later at the big business meeting in Stockholm, and he came running into the meeting and screaming, Ollie, I want to tell you the truth. We have actually changed our business objectives. What? I said. Yes, we are now going to measure our objectives and how many tattoos we have with Bombardier.
So they changed from hair to what?
They changed from dollars to tattoos. No, it was more like a mental journey he did. He realized that they could get loyal customers because they never thought about the customers like that. They were really into manufacturing trains and airplanes. They never thought at the brand like that they should have loyal customers that way. But he made it, he changed his mind. So he said, we really changed our mind. Now we're going to have an objective, and we're going to have tattoos with Bombardier in 5 years. Please. And what we're actually talking about is creating a company culture. I understand this is nothing new to you, but company culture is absolutely everything. If you could create a great company culture with a little bit more fun, funky attitude, very goal-oriented on the customer, you'll be the winner in the future. Absolutely. Because culture eats strategy for lunch. It's a very popular saying, but it doesn't matter how many strategies you make. If your employees doesn't like your culture, your strategy is not going to work. If you don't work with the same ideas as you have and believe in your core values, it is not going to work at all. I think we missed the picture. Can you back a little bit? No? I was going to... Another one. Another one. Another one. strange. We're missing a picture here. It's gone on the internet. Sorry about that. Sorry about the inconvenience. Yeah. I want you to think a little bit about how can you build a strong company culture. Do you have any ideas? Could you think for, let's say, 30 seconds? How can you build a strong company culture? Is it by saying to people, be fun, be happy, be good? Or how do you do it? Give me some ideas. 30 seconds. You two out there on the internet. Pardon?
Every Friday.
Yeah. Excellent.
No, every Thursday.
To embrace the tattoos.
Go to sauna, embrace tattoos. What does it say? Involvement, of course. But how do you get involvement? Play football, someone says here. Isn't this just activities? But how can you actually create a good company culture from the beginning? Cocktail party and no sauna, people are writing here on the internet. Every Friday in our office. Okay, we're welcome. Next picture, please. A good company culture, the rules, the values, the norms that characterize a company or other organization in other words, the informal performing commercial side of the company. Exactly how it works. This is how we do it. This is the company culture. Nothing new, but next picture, please. The culture is based on values. And the values that are our roots, that weaves us together and makes us stand firm and allowing us to grow together. So it's very, very, very important that we find the roots that actually could start to build the culture. Please. And if you want to establish a culture, a service culture, it actually starts with the core values of the companies. If you can find out the core values of your companies or the core values you want to have of your companies, you can do a gap analysis. What is our values today and what values do we want to have? And then you can create the value platform, and from that platform you can start to build the culture. And when you have decided your culture that you want to have, then it all starts with the right recruitment. The right recruitment, the right education, the right structure of the company, and of course the leadership, the monitoring, and the rewards. You reward the right culture, the right behaviors. And that will create a great culture. And it all starts with the core values of your company. And if you don't design your culture, your employees will do it for you. It's very important that you decide your culture. If you want to be a modern, service-oriented, funky, interesting company, you have to design your culture. It's a strategic decision. And there are ways to doing this today. You can actually measure the culture in a company. You can measure the culture in the town. There are digital ways of measuring culture. And then you can decide as CEOs and board members and leaders, is this the culture we want? If yes, okay, what behaviors do we create from this? And then you start building culture. And if not, you have to decide which is your culture, which is your core values. If you don't, your employees will do it for you. And then it might not be the right culture. Please. If you do this the right way, you will have very, very happy employees. And happy employees will create a better attitude. And a better attitude will create better service. Better service will create better sales. Right now we are working on a very big project out on Arlanda Airport in Stockholm. They want to increase sales. And they understood that they must start with a great culture. So we're actually starting a great culture program at the Arlanda Airport in order to increase sales at Arlanda. So the tax-free sales starts with a great culture at Arlanda with total customer focus. This is not going to be a Metallica movie. This movie is more about a guy that really understands great customer focus and see what this makes to his crew and the employees that work for this guy. I think this movie says about everything. Har vi öppnat upp kameran snart? Nej, sorry about that. When you do it the right way, you can hear his staff, the guy was screaming, "I love my job." It was really part of the show. Bono is in the front. His customers are in the heart. His loyal customers are in the heart. And his crew loves the job because they have a great culture together. And one important thing, why do we do this? Why do we create a good culture and why do we do service? What's the reason? Could you give me a good answer to that? Why are we giving good service and creating a good culture? There's only one reason actually. Money. Seriously, it's all about money. For being nice and having fun at home, we can do it for free. But when we do it for business, it's all about getting money. But we have to be true, and we have to be real, and we have to do it. But we have to do it strategic because it's all about money. But if we do it, I'm 100% positive it will be more money. If we have more fun and if we do it more customer focused. But it's all about money. So, a short summary. The future has arrived and it's fast. Plan for tomorrow must be yesterday. Don't sit and wait. It's going very, very fast out there. Everyone is thinking about this. We are global. And the target groups are tribes. Think about the core values. Who do you want to be with? Brands stem from relationships. And relationships is actually better live. Product, price and promotion are more or less given today. They are generic. It's a software, the people in the company that determines the success and how we can attract customers. And service is a key success factor. But of course, the product, the price, the promotion, everything has to be 100%, but you have to have a good service, a good customer focus. And it should run through the veins of the entire company. It's not nothing that just is a saying, it has to be true. And entertainment is important. Everybody wants to have a little bit more fun. And as the new CEO says, Satya Nadella, we have to make our business more customer-oriented, more fun. It's interesting. And it's curtains up. It's showtime every day. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, the customers are waiting outside our door. It's like curtains up at the theater. And we must be ready with our happy buttons. Please. Thank you for your attention. And good luck with your culture building and good attitude. Push the happy button. Yeah, maybe we have some questions from the audience.
What do you think about the individual approach to the customer? How is it possible to combine individual approach with mass production? How to do that?
100% positive. But the thing is, for example, the culture at the company, the values are that you decide, our core values that you decide for your company, they should be attached at the stone at the bottom of the lake. Okay? That is the core values. And from the core values at the bottom, there are two chains going up to the surface of the water. Okay? And on the top there are two buoys, the floating buoys. And you decide how narrow or how wide your culture is. So if you say this is our culture, we are attached to these core values, and these are the behaviors that we say are okay. So if you decide this is our playing field, then you must describe the behaviors and the way you're supposed to work within that area. And if an employee step outside, it's wrong. And as long as you're inside, it's okay. But within this behaviors, you're supposed to be very personal. If we look at more and more of the companies in Stockholm, they want their employees to be personal. They don't want it to look like stereotypes. It's okay with tattoos, or it's okay with a variety of different people and behaviors, as long as you are within the playing field, and you are the ones that dictate the field according to your core values. Some people have this wide playing field, and some have this.
Thank you very much. I got very one question there. Last one.
What is the name of the clothes retail that you quoted as an example of doubling profit? It's called R&B. The owner company is called R&B, and the CEO is Mikael Solberg. And the brands are JC, Polan Pyret, NK, for example, all Swedish brands. So you can look them up. They are on the internet. JC especially, and Polan Pyret. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay. When you talk about value, do we have a good case example about a company which translates the same set of values internally and externally, the personality to the customers? How do we do that?
A company culture, a good example for me is Apple, a good example is McDonald's. I mean, there are a lot of good examples. I think SJ were on a good journey. Unfortunately, they changed direction, so they stopped the work. But I think they were on a good way of doing this. But if you have the right core values, it will affect everything you do. You can't have one behavior inside the company and one outside. So everything starts with the core values. That's a core value-driven company. And if you want to be a modern service-oriented company, you have to have the right core values, and that affects everything you do. If you do it the right way, it becomes natural.
Nice question. What do you think about mobile technologies as a tool for relations with clients?
I think it's excellent. Some of the best service I get is actually from web-based companies today. But even if you are digital, you must be very service-oriented. And if you have the right attitude within the company, you can do it in a very good way, digital as well. So it doesn't have to be personal like this. But if you don't have the service culture, it's not going to work on the internet or in the mobile devices either. It all comes down to the people. So
there's a question. I read Russian first, and then если какой-нибудь новый бизнес, или на что влияет, для работы с сервисом, и клиента, кроме индивидуального. Is there some new vision for what's distributed advertised in Lux segment, in the Lux segment, luxury segment industry, apart from individual service? Is there something else?
can you take the question one more time, please?
Yeah, so it is about the luxury segment.
Yes.
So apart from this individual approach to clients, are there any other approaches for clients in this segment?
Well, I think it's actually the same. If you say Prada or if you say McDonald's, it's the same mechanism. Because it all comes down to the culture that you want to create. If you want to create a good service culture, then you can do it in Prada or you can do it in McDonald's. Then it comes down to the product you sell and the way you sell it. Because, of course, it's different when you sell a luxury product or if you sell a hamburger. But it's the same process and it's the same way of doing it. It's nothing actually different from food chain to product. What about clients which are really closed and do not want to deal to the problems in past? I do not want to deal due to the problems. How to collaborate again of failure in the past. So you mean that's more a question of if you have clients that don't like you. I guess that's what you mean with that question. Do you understand it that way, Igor? Yeah. I mean, if you have clients that don't like you, I think to be honest with them, if you teach people when we actually have classes in how to do good service, because first we start with strategy, then you can do classes and teach people how to do service. And if you have clients that dislike you because you done failures in the past, I mean, if you're honest with them and say I'm sorry and give them something, you will bring them back. But you have to be honest and mean it. I mean, if I do something wrong with you and I say I'm sorry, I probably I can earn you back. I don't think it's very difficult.
Roger, understand your experience based on your work in Sweden.
Yes.
Do you have any experience in different cultures, like Indian, Asian, or Russian? The question is, does your approach work in case of different national culture?
I forgot to say that I work for an international company called English First. They have an office here in Nevsky, an international education company. It's actually a Swedish company, but they're based all over the world, and they are the biggest language school in the world. They are a sponsor of Olympics in Sochi, and I work for them. And they've done exactly this journey. They are very, very, very specific with their core values. Have 100% customer focus. And it works 100% well in all countries. They do it extremely good. It's a good example.
It was Swedish now.
It's owned by a Swedish guy, but now it's an international company. They have offices all over the world.
In that case, you work here. What the nation was the top manager here? Russian, British, or?
The manager here, I believe, was both Russian and Swedish. I work in Stockholm. I did work here in St. Petersburg. But this will work everywhere. I'm 100% positive.
There is a cultural difference between Eastern and Western culture. For example, in terms of power distance. In Sweden, the power distance between Stockholm and lower than Russia. My question, is it really works in all cultures?
I think in the future it must work because we're all going to be one world.
In the future? In 2000 years else?
No. Well, I don't know. That's a hypothetical question. I believe in it.
Okay, yeah, I think we have to close our session because another debate is going very soon.
Yeah.
For the webinar. Olle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank to our audience for being with us this evening, and we wish you good luck. For those who came for in the session, there will be some more activities, and we'd like to thank Olle. Thank you.